Yo guys, in this video, I'm gonna go over a presentation that I did a couple weeks back at one of our private workshops that we hosted here at Webflow with some partners of ours. And basically the workshop and the presentation goes over the A.R.C framework, which is the framework that we've been studying for the past 2 years, which is exactly how the most successful projects have basically gathered attention, retained attention, and compound the growth over time. So I'm gonna leave you guys to it. Hope you guys enjoy it and you guys get some value out of it. All right, perfect. So, so I know we've gone over a couple things the last 2 days. So we had Alex come in talk about community building. We had Juanito come in talk about founder-led marketing. We had obviously CK talk about KO marketing. So I want to pretty much just put everything together for you guys. That was my goal with this presentation, is put everything together for you guys, so you guys have sort of like clear steps after the workshop to kind of take and run with, right? And obviously, like all the guys will be around. If you guys have questions, want to connect with them, just let me know, and we can set up group chats. But the idea is that I want to put it all together with something that I call the A.R.C framework. And one thing that I believe is that most brands fail because they don't have a proven and repeatable system. This is one thing that I've noticed with most projects out there. They're just kind of like winging it and hoping something sticks. So I built out the A.R.C framework. So the ARC framework is what I like to call it. And when we think of Pudgy, it's something that they have in common, right? So like when you think of Pudgy, what comes to mind? Like some people might say culture, like some other people might say community. They've been able to, like every event they do, it's like really big and they have a really, really strong community. And then some other people might say like a Web2 takeover, right? Like we seen it last week. They announced NASCAR. They announced, like a Lufthansa, I think it was. Like they announced a bunch of partnerships. So one thing that Pudgy does is they understand how to gather attention, build a culture, and grow IPs. That's what they're really, really good at. So the A.R.C framework is broken down into three core things. So it's number one is attention. How do you get attention at scale? Number two is retention. How do you retain users and community members? And then number three is compound. How do you continue to pretty much just compound growth long term? And I want to break down like why I even came up with the ARC framework in the first place. So going back to the Pudgy example, when I was looking at what the biggest projects have in common, and all the projects we've worked with, like the most successful ones have in common, is they understood those three core things. So one is how do you get attention? So how do you get people to see what you're doing? How do you retain people? So how do you make sure that you're keeping at least some of the people that are seeing what you're doing? And then how do you continue to compound the growth on top of each other? So that's the main reason that I came up with the A.R.C framework, and the reason that all the big projects have succeeded is because they understand those three core principles. And the reason I know this works is because we've done it in the past. Like we did it with Seed World. We helped them bring in millions of impressions. We've done it with Legacy. We've helped their token perform really well. They're over 500 million FTV. And I've also talked with a lot of the if you want to call it the best founders in the industry. So Kevin from Final Boss, who Alex is building. Obviously, he was on yesterday. Mickey from Arcadia, the founder of Booz, Leon, and a couple other people. And we've done this pretty much for every project we've worked with in the past. We try to follow the exact same framework. How do we attract people? How do we retain them? And how do we make sure that they build a compounding system that builds on top of each other? So what I hope to do today is put everything that you've learned together so that you walk away with a repeatable system that you can pretty much implement today. That's my idea with this. So with all that out of the way, I'm going to get started. So over the last 3 years, we've talked with hundreds of project founders. And the truth is that most of them are out of business today. And it's because they just simply didn't understand they understood the attention part of it, but they didn't understand how to retain and how to compound growth. So before we dive in, let's see what not to do. So one thing I see a lot of projects build is they try to build their product around narratives. This one isn't sustainable because narratives only last a certain period of time. going back to what CK was talking about earlier, right? Like KOLs, like the narrative is always changing and KOLs are at the core of it. But some products are built on narratives that are pretty much just here for the short term. They don't listen to feedback. This is a big one. I've talked to project founders that are like, hey, Juan, we want to raise $10 million. I'm like, hey guys, the market is not there. We cannot raise $10 million. And they still somehow continue to think that they're going to raise $10 million. They launch without letting people know. What I mean by this is they think that they have such a good product that they launch it out there and hope that people find out about it somehow. So they don't activate KOLs, partnerships, anything like that, which I'll go over in a little bit. They decline calls with community members. Arthur, I know you're killing it at this, but this is a big thing that I see projects do is they just simply say that they don't have time for community calls and building these relationships. And then number 5, they believe KOLs are not needed because the CPM is high, they don't convert, whatever that might be. I don't think that's the truth. I think KOLs are needed because, like CK said, they are the ones that, if you think of the biggest projects, they're somehow attached to a KOL that you've seen in the past. So I want to break down the 3 things, starting with attention. So I want to go back to the question: how do you get attention at scale? There's 4 ways that I've noticed that you get attention in Web3. Number 1, you have founder-led marketing. Number 2, you have partnerships. Both of these being low cost, high impact. So these you can start today, no cost. Third, KOL marketing. Fourth, incentive-driven campaigns. Both of these are being high cost, but very high impact. Now, this is exactly what we've done for every project we've worked with. We use these 4 things when we're launching a campaign. We did it for Overnight just a couple of weeks ago. We've done it for Kronos World's Legacy Network. And one thing that I noticed, like how I like to describe marketing of Web3 is very similar like this. It's just a roller coaster. The reason why I say it's a roller coaster is because you have 0 followers, then you do a kickoff campaign. It's very similar. So you do a trailer campaign, you get a lot of attention. Now you're like, you got some attention going. Then you go into like this community building phase, right? So this is where you're like, okay, we have attention. We have to sustain this attention. So this is where you retain people. And then you launch a second marketing campaign. Then you try to reach a new higher high. Then again, you go into a second community building phase where you try to retain as many people from the second campaign as possible. Then you launch a third marketing campaign and you go to a higher high now. And so on and so on and so on. This is exactly what I believe marketing in Web3 looks like. So I know I went over a little bit, but I want to show you how to put it all together so you guys have an idea of what I mean. So if you have a strong product, and I know, Arthur, you guys did this very well, but at the core of it, what I like to do is you have a trailer, then you have the paid plus organic KOLs, you have your personal account plus goodwill that you've built through the founder-led marketing, and then you have partnerships. So any launch partners like Launchpads, anything like that, collabs, any close friends that you guys have in terms of partners or anything like that. You want to drive that attention onto the trailer. So pretty much out of the 4 things that I covered, now you have 3 pretty much out of the way. Then if you really want to throw like fuel to the fire, then you add a call to action led by an incentive program. So this is where you have the trailer. At the bottom, you have a link where it's like, hey, come join our leaderboard. Come sign up for a platform. We're going to have an incentive program, whether that's tokens, NFTs, whitelist, whatever that might look like. You attach that in there and you pretty much are guaranteed for success. If you're able to pull all of this the right way and you use the right creators, the right partners, you've done founder-led marketing for a good enough time, and your incentive is well aligned with what the community wants at that point. So that's how you get attention in Web3. Pretty simply broken down. So now, how do you retain the attention that you're getting? So going back to the question, how do you retain users and community members? The only reason people will stick around is if they see value. I don't think, especially in Web3, what I mean by value is a monetary incentive. But like Alex was talking about yesterday, value could be, hey, I sit down and I talk with my community once a week. They have more of a personal connection with me. They see a lot of, just value, whether that's monetary or from a, human standpoint. So the problem with doing this in Web3 is that there's new shiny objects. every single day. There's a new airdrop, there's a new meme token, there's a new project that launches. That's the next big thing. So how do you get past this shiny object syndrome? There are three core things that causes people in Web3 to really stick around. So you have incentive rewards. So you can see your Kaito, Project Nova, Ethos. So you attach an incentive reward that people can always come and farm. Yes, this will get you a lot of farmers, but it's something that gets people interested to actually stick around. So like if you look at Kaito, they've been around for months now, and they continue to have people that come and be part of their ecosystem, enjoy what they're doing, whatever that might look like. Then you have social status, right? So a reason why people are still in Bored Ape Yacht Club is because they have social status in some way. Back in the last bull market, they were worth around 100 ETH. Now they're not worth much, but they still provide some sort of social status. Azuki, very similar thing, right? At some point, they were one of the highest social status you can have in the industry. In Abstract, from a brand point of view, they provide you social status as a company, because when you attach yourself with a company that's attached with Pudgy, you get some sort of social status. And last but not least, you have culture and community. So if you have a culture and you have a community, people are more likely to stick around because they have a reason to pretty much just like have a community to interact with, right? So if you think of Pudgy, Final Boss, who's so fun, has been killing it at this. They've been building a strong community and culture around the aura farming and all those sort of things. So if you have these three things, so incentive rewards, social status, and culture and community, you're pretty much, you can retain a lot of attentions. But at the core of everything is the product, right? It doesn't matter what the incentive reward is. It doesn't matter what the culture and community is, the social status. If you have a trash product, the likelihood of people actually sticking around for after 12 months is very, very low. So just to put it all together for you, it should look something like this. The incentive rewards gathers attention, so they bring people into your funnel. Social status nurtures them. You want to give, especially the creators, the kills that you're working with, some form of social status within your community that nurtures them. And then culture and community converts people, because now you have a culture and you have a community, let's say 500 people, they're always going to be onboarding new people. And I'll dive into this in a second as well. So that's from my point of view, how you retain users in Web3. So now, how do you continue to compound growth on top of each other? Most projects, they're trying to fill a leaky bucket with just spending a lot of money. And I think CK touched upon this as well, which is like, if your product is not good and you're spending money on KOLs, the likelihood of you wasting money is very, very high. Most people will not stick around. Most people don't actually care about what you're doing if your product is not good. So first thing you need to do is just fix the leaky bucket. This is pretty much how they end. 99% down their token. They go out of business. These were guys that were very high and they were very, very bullish a couple months back. They went out of business. Their token is down 98%. So for compound growth to happen, there's two things that must happen. So number one, you must have a great product. And number two, you build a funnel that retains users. So going back to the retention of it all. If you have a strong acquisition channel, but you can't retain users, it's very hard to compound grow this. It's nearly impossible. So let's do the math. If you acquire 100 users per month and your monthly churn is 20%, at the end of the year, you're only going to net 465 users or so. And I know this because I asked ChatGPT to do it for me. So it's pretty much impossible to build a compounding system, building something that just doesn't retain people. So if you have a monthly churn of people coming down, whether that's community members, users, whatever that might look like, the likelihood of you losing a lot of people, it's very, very high. So fixing the problem is very hard to do. So I don't have like a fix-all solution. But in an industry that moves fast, I want to show you my thought process behind how you fix this. And compounding growth is all about increasing your community size and awareness. And I know this because all the big projects, Pudgy have done this, Azuki has done this, Kaito has done this. Everybody you can think of has done this in some way successfully. And there's one simple hack that I've noticed work best for this. And I know Alex talked about it a lot yesterday, which was one of his main focuses, which is the same thing that all these guys are doing, which is just simply talk to your users. If you spend time talking to the users that you have, you will be able to compound growth because they will bring more people. People trust people, and that's the reality of it. And this is simply how you get diehard fans to share the vision. So I wanted to show you some examples here because I think these are very important. And I think these are examples that have done it very well. So you have Shiv, he's a community team at Pudgy, and his core focus is getting people onboarded into Pudgy. Same with TMA, he did the same with Good Vibes Club. Devil K, he's doing the exact same thing with Say Network. And then A.R.C's done the exact same thing for Azuki. So yes, I gave you a little bit of information, but what do you do with this, right? So you build out a BD team for your company, and their only KPI is getting on 50 plus calls per week. Now, what you do here is that you're building that trust with people because people trust people. You provide them some sort of value because you're humanizing them. And then if you want to throw a bonus on it, you give them some sort of value, right? So whether that's $5 in tokens, that's a whitelist spot, whatever that might look like. If you hire somebody as a BD team whose sole goal and KPI is to get on 50 to 100 calls per week, the likelihood of you building a compounding system is very, very high. So now I went over all these three: attention, retention, and compound. So before we wrap it up, I just want to go back to what we opened up this conversation with. Most brands fail because they don't have a proven and repeatable system. So I hope that the A.R.C framework help you guys do this, from gathering attention to retaining users to pretty much just compounding growth on its own. So